Am I the butthole for yelling at my brother for cheating while he was finally accepting his sexuality? My brother, male 30, and me, 38 male, grew up in a very religious household. My father was all about good Christian family values, and yet, ironically, he cheated my mom all the time and he expected for us to accept it. I hated his guts, but my brother always tried to please him, to have his approval. When he was a teen, we shared a desktop computer and he sometimes forgot to delete his browser history. I noticed he went many gay support sites, so I thought he might be into guys. I never asked because A, it was his choice to tell me when he was ready, and B, I didn't care. He was my brother and I love him. I understood why he would keep it quiet though. If he came out when we were living with our father, I knew crap would hit the fan. Years passed and he didn't came out even after losing contact with our dad. I thought that maybe he was just exploring his sexuality back then, or he was bi or whatever, because he got a girlfriend and married her 5 years ago. This girl, let's call her Julie, is an angel. She got along with everyone and she became fast friends with my wife, who sees her as her little sister of sorts. I owe her a lot because she was instrumental into making my wife accept she needed help after going through a terrible postpartum depression. Fast forward to this week. Julie call us sobbing and tell us my brother is cheating on her and that his lover is a male friend of his from work. This has been going on since 3 years ago or so. I went ballistic and I called him. I told him he was doing the same thing to Julie as our father did to our mom. My brother then tells me he was struggling with accepting he was gay all this time and that I should be more understanding. He accused me, then I was so mad because he was gay and implied I was low-key discriminating him. I told him that cheating is cheating and that Julie doesn't deserve this. We haven't talked in days and I am starting to feel guilty. Maybe I should have been more tactful? I don't know, I just feel that cheating doesn't have a free pass at all. People in Reddit, am I the butthole? Update, I sent him a lengthy email talking about how I suspected he was gay all this time and that I was sorry he felt he couldn't trust me. I explained to him I didn't care about his sexual orientation and that if I was mad, it because he cheated, nothing else. I told him I thought that his behavior toward Julie was reprehensible, not his preferences. I said he needed to apologize and the responsible of his actions. Maybe go to counseling with her so she could get closure? I don't know. Whatever he can do some good to her, it will be the right thing to do at this point. Edit to update and to clarify context about our living situation during the whole computer situation when he was a teen. NTA. My uncle did this to my aunt. Once they separated, he moved his boyfriend into the house they were still sharing because my uncle's spending had made them land rich and money poor. My uncle is a butthole. Not because he's gay, but because he cheated on his wife for years instead of filing for divorce and expected everyone to be cool with it because he was finally embracing his sexuality. He was struggling with accepting he was gay all this time. It's been 3 years of cheating. Yeah, what's your point? Where did I defend the butthole? My uncle cheated on his wife for about a decade and his defense is that it's okay because he was being true to himself. My uncle and the bill are buttholes. The upper comment is not fighting you, just validating your already validate point. Okay, got confused. My uncle has been whining that everyone, his kids included, are celebrating him during all of this. I'm getting sick of hearing but he's gay as a defense. Agreed. That's why I usually start posts that could be read otherwise with agreed. That's cold, bro. I was just agreeing with your point. Exactly. I would think after 1 or 2 years of sex with a man, the brother would realize he was sexually attracted to men. Don't know why it took 3 years. Heck, I'm surprised took more than a few months. He slept with a dude presumably willingly and kept wanting to do it. That's basically the definition of queer. I can see maybe struggling to decide if it's gay or bisexuality for a while after that point. Still, at 3 years you're well past the point where it's remotely understandable. He's not struggling with his sexuality at that point, that's an excuse, he's trying to have his cake and eat it. He gets gay sex whenever he fancies, while keeping the heterosexual family man facade. That way, he doesn't need to rock the boat with his dad, who he knows wouldn't accept him as a gay man, and lose his approval. He actually wasn't even doing it for his dad's approval. Original post states that his brother dropped contact with their dad before he even married. So he doesn't even have the excuse of hiding it from his dad to keep his approval. Also, regardless if he is gay, bisexual, etc., it doesn't take away the fact that he cheated. Like, even just cheating once with a guy is not a defense. If you're into men to the extent that you need to cheat on your wife, then you need to divorce her. It's not fair to expect her to deal with that. Let's say he decided he actually didn't like men after he had sex with a man. Either way, you still cheated, and the relationship should have been ended prior to that happening. Someone's sexual preferences so not justify cheating on someone. Agreed. Last I checked, cheater is not a valid sexuality. Maybe not have to divorce, but she should have the opportunity to know and respond accordingly. I agree, though I think it's a little more understandable if it happens once. For a guy to not know / accept he's gay, get comfortable around another dude, be intimate, and then oh crap. What the hell just happened? But then any person with any class comes to their wife and confesses, and or a therapist to work on accepting themselves. Building a 3-year relationship behind your wife's back is a far cry from a moment of genuine sexuality confusion. Also exposing his wife with high-risk behaviors. I doubt he started PrEP prior. And I bet this was not his first affair. Not ostracizing, but I've had patients whose spouses cheated and they found out on routine physicals with STD/DX. I'm for all the sex, just safe and not cheating. Cheating is never understandable. If you want to screw someone else, get a divorce and do it. You don't get a mulligan on fidelity because of your orientation. You don't decide whether you're gay or bisexual. You just are. It's not a choice. I think you've misinterpreted here. I'm reading decide as determine, as in, to figure out what your sexuality is. Maybe a bad word choice, but you can figure out from the context. I think the decide in this is coming to terms with their sexuality, which by all means it's a huge deal for everyone, because liking someone can be very whirlwind no matter what your orientation. The brother, though, is a effing twit for doing that to everyone around him. Yes, coming out can be difficult, but this was like reading an 1800 story where the husband is secretly gay so marries a woman to get suspicion off of his sexuality, but we're in the 21st century, damn it, and being a sleazy prick because he wanted the best of both worlds, where he can play the doting hetero husband in the light and then get his ass effed in the shadows as a gay lover, is a disgusting low blow to the wife. I'm sorry you have a brother like that, and I hope your Sil can move on from her despicable husband and find someone who truly loves her for the wonderful woman she is. You not the butthole, hands down. I'm going to say it's probably in year 1. Possibly even after 11 months. Even after the 10-month mark. Not only that, but since he was going to gay support websites, it would seem that he already knew he was attracted to men. Everybody else is calling it cheating, but in my opinion, it's much more deceitful. Op's brother was not only unfaithful to his wife for years, but he also lied about his sexuality for many more. He dated and married or continued being married to a woman knowing he is not interested in her, and even if she would suspect infidelity, she'd never really be able to pinpoint it without questioning her own reality. The only way this is equivalent to cheating is if Op's brother was bisexual and his wife knew that. Edit. Never did I mention that all gay men enter in a heterosexual relationship with malicious intentions. It's worse if he came to terms with it before dating or marrying her, but even if not, he should have come clean when he did, because otherwise, he'd be lying about his sexuality as well. Being a victim of societal construct, or more accurately, misconstruction, can only explain, not excuse or even subside his deeds. Like Philip Schofield, admitted he always knew he was gay, used his wife as a beard to help his career for years. Comes out and everyone acts like he's a saint. She spent most of her life living a lie because of his selfishness. Also cheapens people's experience who are genuinely struggling by using it as an excuse to act in such an awful manner. It's such a psycho thing to do, to act as if someone else's whole life, the most important relationship in their life, is just some tool for you to use solely for yourself. I can't imagine how devastating it would be to find out your life partner was never actually in love with you and was just using you. Especially these days, there's no excuse for it. Just because your dad might be a terrible person who will reject you if he finds out you're gay, or if your career might not have been as good back in the day when the public were crappier about homosexuality, it doesn't give you the right to hijack someone else's life and emotions in order to keep up a facade for your own benefit, and it certainly isn't noble in any way. Yes, it is really awful that people find themselves in these situations where they feel they have to be closeted due to bigotry, but it doesn't justify putting other people in terrible, devastating situations too. Exactly. He could have done what so many gay people did back in the day and find a lesbian who also wants a marriage of convenience. It's not ideal, but it's not a crafty thing to do to someone else. I can understand it in the days when being gay was literally illegal, but in today's society is just a completely crafty thing to do. No excuses. F the people who do it. I agree. Even partners who cheat were attracted to theirs so at least once upon a time. He never was. I went through this. My ex and I were high school sweethearts. We got married and had a child. He came out on Thanksgiving 3 years ago. On Facebook. He lied to me for 21 years. He always knew he was gay. It was mortifying, and it shook me to my core. We are thankfully divorced now. NTA, it's not about who he cheated with or what gender he's into, it's about being unfaithful to his wife. Reminded me of another Am I the Butthole? Web link. And that Am I the Butthole with that dude who had used his wife as a beard for decades, having like 5 kids with her and then finally dumping her. The post was written by one of his children, and most of that thread called the APA butthole for not supporting his father in coming out. Most of that thread called original post a butthole for not supporting his father. Effing what? Dude, link that thread, I going to see that crap show myself. I knew a guy who did the same thing to his family, and he couldn't understand why his kids wouldn't talk to him. He framed it in terms of him struggling all these decades and how they should be happy for him without acknowledging they're actual real people who, out of the blue, found out their lives were a lie. There was another one where girl did not tell her sister that she saw Bill in gay bar. He was having an affair for several years, while sister was saw with a child. Lots of people called her not the butthole cause you never out someone, no matter the circumstances. Luckily a lot of people called both of them buttholes. I saw my sister's boyfriend in a gay bar dancing with a guy. As soon as he saw me, he came over to say hi and to introduce me to his cousin from out of town who was curious about his own sexuality. I used to go to all of the gay bars and gay nights, knew the out-of-town cousin. He was a regular, like I was, at a gay joint that used to have a late night, morning drag show. My sister was in boot camp. I wrote to her and told her what I had seen. She called him and told him that he was free to find himself and broke up with him. They, sis and ex, found themselves at a park years later. He introduced her to his husband and she introduced him to her husband. The whole you never out someone. Blah, blah, blah is BS. It's not outing someone to tell someone else they are being cheated on. It's saving a victim from an abuser. And if you cheat on public and get seen, you've outed yourself. Right, if you're taking actions that put you at risk of being outed, you take that responsibility and procure the risk. It worked out for your sister and her ex, it could have worked out for these people. The you never out someone refers mostly to when someone tells you they are LGBT+, and you don't tell others in case they aren't ready or are at risk. It is not meant for when someone is cheating. Dancing with your boyfriend aside, you don't have to be gay to go to a gay bar. Our bars have better music, better theme parties, and better drinks. I can't imagine outing someone, but I would absolutely tell the person that I know what's going on and they need to do the right thing for their beardo. It's still possible that outing someone could result in physical harm. Yeah, you could have a conversation with them and demand they do the right thing by breaking things off with their partner. They don't have to out themselves, but they do need to let that poor person go. Granted, but being outed as a cheater could also result in physical harm. So I don't see how being gay justifies not telling the person being cheated on. I mean, does no one remember OJ? If he did it, and she wasn't even gay, so that's kind of a weak argument. I'll need to read more on that one before I judge it. I've seen situations like that where the guy is sympathetic and deep in denial for years and does everything possible to avoid hurting anyone else, and other ones where the guy always knew and spent years having affairs and used his wife as a caretaker. Yeah, I had a coworker back in the 90s in Silicon Valley who fit the first category, born in the 40s, got married and had kids in the 60s, because that's what you did. Eventually accepted that even though he wasn't sexually attracted to his wife, he still loved her and his family and didn't want to break that up just over sex. I don't know how they worked that out. I only know about it because he was telling a very flamboyantly out 25M coworker how lucky kids were these days. NTA. Cheating is cheating no matter your justification. You didn't get upset because he was gay, you got upset because his wife called you crying that she had been cheated on. If he needed to explore his sexuality, fine. It happens. There are a lot of men who get married either denying or not realizing they are actually gay. But he needed to end his current relationship before starting a new one. And 3 years? That's an extremely long time to just be exploring. Your brother is definitely TA. If he had fallen in love with this man and maybe hooked up once or twice and then realized he had been too afraid of his own homosexuality and came clean, that would be understandable. Instead, he craps on his wife for 3 years, using her, all the while cheating on her with a person he really loves. Original post is absolutely not the butthole here. If he had fallen in love with this man and maybe hooked up once or twice and then WTF, no. That'd still be cheating. F that noise. You can go and find your sexuality when you're single. This would be no better than someone who cheats, finds someone else, and then breaks up with either current significant other. They're getting the order of operations wrong. Yeah, that is still cheating, but I would have more empathy towards someone who is in denial and came to terms with it after a one-night stand. Intentionally deceiving your wife for 3 years is inexcusable. But I would have more empathy towards someone who is in denial and came to terms with it after a one-night stand. No, like someone who's not happy in a relationship, you break up, then you go and discover yourself. It's absolutely a BS of an excuse to say I was in denial so I went and had a one-night stand. Good Lord, I didn't say it was acceptable. I said I would have more empathy, which is an entirely different word. Man. I really want to live in your world where people's choices make sense like that, and in chronological order to boot. There is a difference between a bad choice made while lying to oneself about one's own identity and languishing a self-imposed cage, and one made while not operating outside of a person's emotional capacity. I agree, cheating badly. Break up when you want to find yourself. Most people, however, don't even know they're lost until it's too late to find their way back. So, yes, some empathy and understanding for someone who made a horrible choice while they were hurting and deluded shouldn't be excluded while you still find the action reprehensible. If everyone were as strong as they could be in these regards, that would be wonderful. But most people are so much more mistake-prone and weak-willed than I had ever imagined when I was young. Thank you for watching. If you like our videos, please like them on YouTube. And share them with your friends. Please subscribe to be the first to know about Red Rabbit Reader's new videos. We welcome your comments below. Another of our videos will begin shortly.